Hello there. Thanks for stopping by Max's Cards and Dice Dugout. This is episode 199. And for this one, we are at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota for game number 8 of the Downey Games Momentum Football 1968 Minnesota Vikings Project. This one has the Vikings hosting the Washington Redskins. Before we get to the game, let's take a quick look at the Vikings' performance so far. Well, they won their last game on the road against the Bears. Interestingly, both of their wins have come on the road. Back in game 2, they defeated the Packers 23-10. That gives them a 2-3-2 record as of right now. In real life, at this point, they were 3 and 4. So a little bit off the mark, kind of disappointing, I would say. But let's see what happens in this one. All right. So, for brevity, I have already selected the quarterbacks, and in the case of the Vikings, the punter for this game. Starting at quarterback, Sonny Jurgensen is out. So it is Jim Ninowski. He's a minus, so that dropped the Redskins' offensive grade from a D to an E. And starting for the Vikings, looks like Bud Grant's going to stick with Joe Kapp. And the punting duties for the first time go to Bill Martin this game, as opposed to King Hill. As mentioned, the Vikings record in this replay coming into this game is 2-3-2. The Redskins in real life, entering game 8 or week 8 of the 68 NFL season, they were at 3-4. So we'll get things started with the coin toss. We'll say the Redskins get the red die and the Vikings get the blue. High die gets ball first. Home team, which is the Vikings, get it in a tie. And it's going to be the Redskins. Vikings are a 0 momentum to start the game at home. So it's going to be Washington. First quarter. 1 mark off the clock for the kickoff. And I should mention that kickoff returns and punt returns for the Redskins, no chance of a touchdown. The Vikings have a slight chance of Charlie West returning a punt for a touchdown. So we don't have to roll for kickoffs in this game. Neither team has a chance to run it back. All right, so first possession for the Redskins. And we got 3-1, so that's going to be 4 off the clock. And let's see, we got a 12 there and a 4 on the control die. So that falls into Minnesota's defensive control factor, and on a 12, it's going to be a fumble. Oh, forgot about the time. So that was 5, 6, 7, 13:27. It's a fumble. And no chance for a fumble recovery for a touchdown, but we will see who recovered the fumble. And on a roll of a 24, it's going to be Bobby Bryant back in the secondary. And that is a momentum-changing play, so the Vikings go to +1. All right, so now their first drive. And let's see, we have a 5 and a 1 for 6 off the clock. I'll put those two aside. We have a 6. That does fall in Washington's defensive control, and on a roll of a 33, it's a punt. So Minnesota 1, and we took the time off the clock. We got 6, 9, 12, 11:32. It's a punt. No chance of a return for a touchdown for Washington, so we continue on. So next would be Washington's possession. Still in the first quarter, early in this game. We got a 6 and a 3 for 9. I have 11, 14, 18, so at 8:38. Pull the 45 aside. We have a 9. That does not fall within Minnesota's defensive control. So we look at the Washington's offensive chart. And I do have the team charts off camera. And on a 45, it's a field goal attempt. Right, and Charlie Gogolak is the field goal kicker. And he'll make this on an 11-35. And it is good. It's good. And Washington takes the early lead. Let's see how long it was. And I need a little reminder on this. It's 2 times 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 17. It's a 29-yarder. And Washington leads 3-0. Field goal that takes the lead, shifts momentum, and we are back to 0. And we continue on first quarter, Minnesota's next drive. We've got a 5 and a 1 for 6 off the clock. And that's 6, 9, 10. At 6:30 in the first. Rolled an 8. That does not fall within Washington's defensive control. And on an 11, it's a fumble. And there is a chance for a fumble return for a TD. And we rolled a 26, and that is Pat Fisher. No chance for Fisher to run it back. But it does shift momentum Washington's way. Whoops. So now Washington has the ball with a 3-0 lead. Still in the first quarter. And got a 6 and a 1 for 7 off the clock. And a 7. That's where the momentum comes in on a roll of a 7. Momentum is in favor of Washington, so we will read off Washington's offensive chart, and a 42 is a punt. First I need to get the time. 7, 11, 13. 4 minutes and 13 seconds in the first. It's a punt. And we'll see if there's a return on the punt for Mike Bragg. It's returned on a 34-66. We roll 25, so there's no return. And Minnesota takes possession, and momentum remains with the Redskins. All right, so Redskins lead 3-0 here, late in the first quarter. And we have a 4 and a 2 for 6 off the clock. 7, 9, 11. So at 2-11 in the first. 4 does fall within Washington's defensive control, and a 34 is a punt. And Bill Martin has a return on an 11-41. Well, no, we don't even need to check that because there are no punt returns for a TD for Washington. So they get the next possession here. And hold on to that 3-0 lead. Get a 5 and a 1 for 6 off the clock. And I forgot to take 1 off the clock for the kickoff return for the Vikings. So we will go into the second quarter. And let's see, we have 7, 8, 12, 14:52. So very early in the second quarter. We We have a 7, so that goes to Washington because right now they have momentum. And a 14 off of Washington's offensive chart is another fumble. And recovering that for the Vikings, 45, is Lonnie Warwick. No chance for Warwick to return a fumble for a touchdown, but it does shift momentum back to neutral. Vikings get possession here in the second quarter, trailing 3-0. All right, we roll a 6 and a 1 for 7 off the clock. 12, 15, 16, so at 12:36, rolled a 7, and we are neutral on momentum, so that goes to the home team. And on a roll of 36 on the Vikings offensive chart is a key penalty. And this is another one that I got to reference because I don't do it too often. You have to excuse me. Okay, the penalty is always in favor of the team holding the momentum. Momentum is neutral, but the home team, Minnesota, gets the nod. And penalties against the defense, the offense gets a free die roll. And it's automatically coming off the Vikings chart, but we do roll to see if see how much time we take off the clock. So we got a 3 and a 2 for a 5. So the penalty allowed the drive to continue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 32 off the Vikings offense. Let's see where that puts us. 10:45, 8:10, 10:50 is a punt. So the Washington defense has the Vikings offense stymied so far. Okay, so no chance of a punt return for the Redskins. Punt does not change momentum, so it remains neutral. And we continue on. We got a 6 and a 4 for 10 off the clock. 12, 17, 21. It would be 7:44 for Washington. Got an 11. That does fall within Minnesota's defensive control, and a 46 is another key penalty. Well, in this case, we're still neutral on momentum, so the nod goes to the Vikings again. And with them being on defense, the key penalty results in a punt. So the penalty was on the Redskins. We'll see if there's any return for Mike Bragg. On a 46, there is a return. And there is a slight chance of return for a touchdown. On a red and white die of 11 and 12, there is a chance. But no, there isn't. So Minnesota gets momentum, and actually I was wrong about that. Momentum shifts on a key penalty. So these should have been over here, and this one should now shift +2 for the Vikings. I apologize for that. So these are wrong. So Minnesota gets the ball here in the second quarter, about halfway through. They're trailing 3-0, have not been able to do anything offensively thus far. Let's see, we got a 5 and a 2 for 7 off the clock. Nine, 12, 14, at 5:14. we got a 52 and a 7. So a 7 on the momentum die goes to the Vikings, since they have +2 on momentum right now. So we look at the Vikings offensive chart, and a 52 is a field goal attempt for Fred Cox. And Cox is good. From an 11 to 66, it is good. We'll see how long it is. We got 2 times 1 is 2, plus 11 is 13, plus 17 is 30. So Cox, a 30-yard field goal, ties it up. And it's now 3-3. Low-scoring affair. All right, momentum does not shift on a field goal unless you take the lead. And here the Vikings have only tied it. So next drive for the Redskins, as the second quarter winds down, we got a 4-1 for 5 off the clock. 6, 9, 10. 3:30. All right, so what do we got here? We got a 5. 5 does fall within the Vikings' defensive control factor, and 41 is a punt. So we'll see if there's any return. For Mike Bragg, 34 to 66 is a return, and it is a return. So now we'll roll for possible Charlie West touchdown, and that will not happen. So momentum stays with the Vikings, and they get the ball again here late in the first half with the score tied 3-3. So we got a 4-1 for 5 off the clock. 5, 7, 11. And that puts us to 151 here in a second. We rolled a 6. That does fall within Washington's defensive control. And on a 14, that's an interception. So Joe Cap throws an INT. And let's see who made that interception. We got a 16. Brigg Owens with the interception. And let's see if there's a touchdown. No. But it does shift momentum back 1. So now the Vikings are only +1. Washington gets the ball here with first half winding down, tied at 3. We got a 3-1 for 4. A 3 on the defensive control die, and that does fall within Minnesota's defensive control, and a roll of a 13 is a fumble. A lot of turnovers in this one. Let's see what the time was. 2, 4, 7. 27 seconds. Fumble. And no chance of a return, but it does shift momentum back to +2 for the Vikings, and as time runs out here in the first half, we got a 6 and a 2, and that's the end of the half. Minnesota's drive. So the only scoring in the second quarter was a Fred Cox field goal, and at halftime we are tied 3-3. Now Minnesota has the +2 on momentum, and will get the ball to start the second half. And first drive, we have a kickoff return to start the second half. And I believe I missed the kickoff after the Vikings field goal, but it really was a moot point. Okay, so we have a 6 and a 1 for 7 off the clock. And 9, 12, 13, 12:33. have a 4 on the momentum dice. That does fall within Washington's defensive control, and a 36. 36 is a punt. No chance for a return for Washington, so they just take possession and start their first drive of the second half. Got a 5 and a 2 for 7 off the clock. If you're wondering, it's the high and low die, and then we total them up to get a more accurate time. So we got 10, 14, 16, and we're at the 10-minute mark, so that would be 10-16 for the Redskins. 7 on the blue and white, or blue and yellow die. 7 is where the momentum comes in. Right now the momentum is with the Vikings, so we'll look at 45 on the Vikings defensive chart, and it is a punt, and we do have to check for return. So Charlie Gogolak, or excuse me, Mike Bragg, 34-66 is a return, and yes, there'll be a return, but we needed an 11 and 12 on the red die before we even looked at the blue, so Minnesota just takes possession and has their next drive here in the third quarter. So we got a 5 and a 2 for 7 off the clock. Ten, 12, 16, be 7:56 in the third. And we have a 10 that does not fall within Washington's defensive control, and a 42 is a key pass. A key pass that either keeps the drive alive or allows for a touchdown to be scored. And this is another one that I don't do too often. All right, so we have to look at Joe Cap's key pass table, and we roll all 4 die and we check the blue and the yellow. So we got a 43, and for Joe Cap, a 43 is a first down. So the key pass keeps the drive alive. So it's first down. Let's see who made the key reception. A first down for 62. And I'm not seeing anything. Looks like Tom Hall made the reception. First down, and it is a momentum changing play, but we're already at +2 for the Vikings, so it can't change anymore. And we start another drive. The Vikings continue the drive because of the key pass. We got a 4 and a 1 for 5 off the clock. 7, 11, 12, so it's 6-12. What do we have? We have a 5 that does fall within Washington's defensive control, and 34 is a punt. So the Vikings can't capitalize on that key pass reception. Washington gets the ball. No momentum change. Got a 4 and a 1 for 5 off the clock. You got 8-10, so it would be at 4:30 in the third. We have a 5 that does fall within Minnesota's defensive control, and a 41 is a punt. And let's see if there's a return. There is a return, and now we'll see if Charlie West can run it back. And no. So, Vikings get possession. And we are still tied at 3. It's been a defensive struggle, lots of turnovers. Only scoring was 2 field goals. Vikings next drive. We have a 5 and a 1 for 6. Uh, 10, 13, 14. 2:34 in the third. We have an 8 that does not fall within Washington's defensive control, and a 15. Another interception for Joe Cap, which is going to shift momentum in Washington's favor. Let's see if this is returned for a touchdown. It is not. And Pat Fisher again? Is that who had the other interception? No, it was Owens, but it's Pat Fisher this time. And that shifts momentum back to +1 for the Vikings. And Washington gets another possession here in the third. We got a 4 and a 3 for 7 off the clock. And 6, 10, 13. So at 13 seconds in the third quarter, have a 7 that goes in the Vikings direction because of the momentum, and a 33 off of the Vikings defensive control is another punt. See if there's a return for Mike Bragg. There is. Now we'll check to see if this is returned for a touchdown, and it is not. We need an 11 or 12 on the red and white die before we even look at the blue and yellow. Okay, so that takes us to the fourth quarter. Momentum stays +1 for the Vikings. And here we go. We got a 5 and a 3 for 8 off the clock. Eight, 12, 15. 12, 15. Here in the fourth. All right, so we have a 8 that does not fall within the Redskins defensive control, so we look at a 43, and that's a key reception for the Vikings. Got those words backward. So on the key reception, this is another one of these things that doesn't come up much. The offensive team has the opportunity to keep the drive alive on a key third down play. We roll all 4 die. And let's see. Got a 33. And that's going to be Bill Brown with the reception. Under attempt. 33 is Bill Brown. Now we have to roll. Well, actually, we can just read the blue and yellow die for a 35 under Bill Brown. And that is a reception that gives the Vikings a first down. A key reception gives them a first down. It's a momentum changing play, goes back to +2. Vikings retain possession. And we roll again. And this automatically comes from the Vikings offensive chart. All right, so we got a 6 and a 1 for 7 off the clock. And a 16 off the Vikings. Well, first, let's see what the total is here. 7, 11, 16, 956. And Bud Grant is got smoke coming out of his ears as Joe Cap throws interception number 3. And let's see if that's returned for a touchdown. It is not, but getting the interception is Rig Owens. That's his second one. So another key reception foiled. That shifts momentum back to a +1 for Minnesota. And we continue on with the Redskins. And the Minnesota faithful don't have a good feeling the way this season's been going. All right, so we got a 6 and a 3 for 9. All right, and we got 10, 16, 19. So that's 6:59 in the fourth. We have a 12 that falls within Minnesota's defensive control, and a 43 is a punt. Once again, we'll check Mike Bragg. Excuse me, there is a return. Now we'll see if that's returned for a touchdown. And it is not. The Vikings get possession here late in the fourth quarter. Let's see if they can pull this out. If the Redskins can stop them again. All right, we got a 5 and a 3 for 8 off the clock. 10, 13, 17. So at 4:17, we have an 8 for a moment or a defensive control. That does not fall within Redskins defensive control, and a 45 for the Vikings is a field goal attempt for Fred Cox, Mr. Nerf. All right, Cox is good on an 11 to 46, and it is good. So the Vikings take the lead. So the field goal is good. And let's see about the distance. Multiply these two, that's 12. Add 4, that's 16. And that's a 33-yarder because we add 17 to that total. And Vikings take a 6-3 lead and shift momentum to +2. So they kick off. That takes 1 off the clock. I remembered it this time. And Redskins with a chance to tie this or take the lead here late in the game. So we got a 6 and a 3 for 9 off the clock. A 10 on the momentum does fall within the Vikings defensive control, and a 34 is a punt. Now, I don't know if we're late enough in the game to try to go for it on 4th down. We're behind by 8 points or less. It's in the last quarter of the game. So they're going to try it here. So the Redskins are going to try. Well, let's see where we are in the time. 10, 14, 17, 57 seconds left in the game. And the Redskins are going to try to go for it here instead of the punt. So, we roll all 4 die. And a 7, we check that first. That goes to the Vikings because they have momentum. So defensive control goes to the Vikings. 64. And guess what? Jim Ninowski throws a touchdown pass similar to what Billy Kilmer did with the Saints against the Vikings earlier in the season. A touchdown pass. How about that? And we'll see who that is too. 63. Gary Allen. It's a touchdown pass to Allen. And I'm not really concerned about the length of that. Kick the extra point. And Gogolak is good, except for 66, so the PAT is good. And it is now 10-6 in favor of the Redskins. Momentum shifts back one. Minnesota's going to get one last chance here. All right, so we take one off for the kickoff. Takes us down to 20 seconds. And the Vikings are going to run out of time. End of game. And they are shocked once again and now fall to 2-4-2. And Bud Grant's on the hot seat. There's no doubt about that. So this season so far has been pretty dismal for the Vikings. I know they weren't a great team that year, but they did finish 8-6, and that is no way is that going to happen. They'd have to win out to even have a chance. So that's going to do it for this one, as the Redskins come to Metropolitan Stadium and put a shocker on the Vikings and win this one 10-6. I'll be back again in the near future with another video. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. And until I see you, take care.